Hey guys, how are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? And how are y'all doing, especially across the pond there? I wanted to come out. Look at this beautiful sky. The beautiful sky. Thinking about Jay Slater, isn't it? Beautiful sky. I hadn't done one in a while on Jay Slater, but I think y'all understand now why. Remember, last we really had was we'd send in probably 3 batches of stuff, and then of course I told y'all I had to kind of chill for a little bit on it, and this is kind of why. I think now y'all are getting to see, like I said before the year's time was up, hopefully we would have answers. But now, since the higher powers kept 3 people from coming and showing up, their higher powers, not our higher powers, not God, their bosses. Sometimes big bosses can silence people, right? We know in that kind of work they do. I'm not scared to say it anymore. I think the truth's all going to finally come out. Like I always said, it's going to come out. And I didn't hush because someone threatened me or told me to hush, like just a normal person, right? No, I did it for the case. I did it for Jay Slater. And when someone reaches out and says, hey, we're putting all this stuff out like that, hold on tight. I'll hold on tight. I don't mind whether we talk about it 2 months ago or we talk about it now. It doesn't really matter when we talk about it, as long as we talk about it. At least though now, this time we're talking, y'all have a little bit more knowledge, like I was praying y'all would have. At least you see the ball is rolling. Remember the last video we did, I said, y'all are going to see the ball start rolling soon, remember? Remember when I talked about Steven and some other people's names and some other stuff, right? Y'all know y'all remember that. Actually, probably it was members only that probably only saw that one with all the names and stuff on the boards and stuff when we really discussed based on all the digital technology that we were able to grab. It's kind of a thing because one thing I was kind of confused about is one of the people that put forth some messages, I had thought they had known before the trip. I didn't know that this was someone that was that he had met at the airport, because it didn't sound like that to me when I was reaching out and communicating with people. It felt like it was somebody that had known him for a while. So I didn't know that it was kind of someone that he had met on the way there. So that was a kind of a new one to me, but it's okay. It's my fault for not digging a little deeper on that part of it. But I was just happy that anybody wants to step up, right? But then once you get to the inquest, and I know over here in America, you don't show up to that, you're in trouble. I know in the UK, after reaching out a little while ago, about an hour ago, to get some information on it, that yes, if you're summoned to be there, if you're supposed to be a witness in an inquest in the UK, yeah, it's punishment, it's fines, it's jail time if you don't show up. So I don't know if people are realizing how big a deal this is. I don't know if they realize it or if they do realize what a big deal this is, because this here is going to potentially, I feel it's going to, I've always said it would, we'll see what happens, but I've always said it's going to open this case. Something is going to open this case. Remember we talked about any one of us can send in anything that makes a difference. Remember when we discussed that, when we were sharing what little bit we could? We couldn't share half of what we wanted to share, but it's cool because now y'all know it. And now this is one of those days where you pat yourself on the back for doing really good investigative work. And for me, having a team, that's such an incredible team that they are. That's what helps me is, you know, my team. I can't do it without my team. My team of people, I could not have done none of this or any of these cases without them, without the help of them. And I mean, it is what it is. I look at it as I'm really happy. I'm really excited. I feel I'm not in a. I want to make that clear of why before I guess I keep going with that. But because it looks to be that this is going to be opened up, and I feel that it was. I always felt that it would. I always felt there was enough probable cause there to open it. I still think there is, and now we're learning a lot more, right? A lot of the names haven't even come out yet, but they will eventually. I think within the next couple of months, because it looks like we're going to be waiting a couple of months now. because of course they gotta, I guess, try to locate people when they go into hiding or run or whatever they do, when they're supposed to show up and they don't, right? They gotta locate them. You know, you can't physically force someone to speak. They can be quiet and silent and just sit in jail for the charge of that. But and that may be a better charge than opening up a bigger can of worms. I don't know what it is to them. I don't know what they're deciding. I don't know whether actually maybe they all got out of the country. I have no idea. But eventually they'll get caught. Eventually they'll have to answer for their consequences, right? You do the crime, you do the time, baby. That's what they say. I'm just happy to know, and I'm glad that I explained what we gathered in this case, which was not a whole lot, but it was enough, I felt, to give me an understanding. This is a case that shows you to stick with your gut. Go with your gut, always. Remember, I always said I didn't feel the watch would play a role, and I still don't think it does. I think that particular message was not done by him. I don't think that message was sent by Jay, but it's possible. Unless it was just to show off for a bragging message. Now, the one about the other things that was in his trousers, yes, I had known about that. And I there's a couple other things that haven't come out yet that we will discuss once they do. I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize anything. I'm going to keep everything to the vest. But for all the people that doubted me, that doubted my team, I think now this gives you, I guess, a better understanding of how digging up and just not giving up, no matter what it is, continue to fight for what you stand up for what you believe in, right? Like when you feel that something is not right and it's not adding up and it doesn't make sense, then most likely it probably doesn't. And it's not going to add up. And that's what happened in this case, because I almost didn't do it. I was like, I felt so bad, and you know, to see his face and his smiley face, and you know, I always said this kid he did not have the best pass in the world. He was a party kid. I always said that. I never took away that he wasn't a party kid. And I think now y'all understand by what the coroner released that was found in the system that he was a party kid. But these are kids that are young, had just gone through COVID and a pandemic and the lockdowns and everything, and first family vacation away from home. So I'm sure he partied a little harder this time than he did any other weekend, right, per se. Now, I always said that I felt like Jay realized he was in trouble once he was in that car. I'm still wondering if it's going to come out that he did get out of that car. Now, I don't know if that's going to come out. I don't know what all else is going to come. Y'all know my theories. Y'all know what I believe I think happened. And that's, of course, my thoughts and my opinions. And it's based on what we uncovered, right? That's what, it painted a picture. We were blessed and fortunate that we were able to communicate with certain people over there, because we're way over here, across the pond, right? So we were blessed to have certain people answer us and speak to us and communicate with us that wanted to see this go through, this case be done like it's being now, right? You know, like I always told y'all, something's coming before the year's up. I had a feeling before the year's up that something would come out. I thought this would have already came last month, and then I didn't think that they wouldn't not show up, because usually people aren't going to face a little punishment for something so that they can just get up there and lie, right? But I think they felt like the evidence that they had gathered was going to overwhelm their stories of what they could say. And I think that that's why someone higher up from them, you know, the one that maybe signs their paychecks, decided, hey, y'all don't need to go there, right? Or let's come up with a master plan, and then when you do go in, this is what you got to say, right? Well, we'll know when they come in and they give their statements. If they're scripted, we'll know, right? That's the good thing about, you know, following your gut. You'll know if it's scripted or not. Like Jack and Lily, you can tell that stepfather, Daniel, everything time he talks about checking culverts and roads and wading through water, it's scripted. You can clearly see it. But in this case, I knew the evidence was enough. Like, not evidence, but the probable cause, I must say. There was enough of it to where it was 70-30. 70% something really bad happened and he didn't just fall, and 30% that, yes, he did fall. So I when we calculated our numbers and we came up with 68.9%, so I just called it 70%, that most likely something bad happened. He met foul play somehow. And then to learn now that even if one of his friends was telling him, you better get away from there and get back home, dude. You're stepping over you're stepping out of your boundary, buddy. They're taking you somewhere way off. You don't need to be up there because you might not come back, basically, is what you can kind of get from the messages, right? Like, hey, dude, don't go there. Get your butt back here. You don't need something in your trousers. That's not going to help you, right? And I think that y'all learned some names in this that we had discussed a long time ago, and a lot of y'all laughed at me. Well, not a lot of y'all, but a few people didn't believe it, and that's cool. I get it. But now that these names have come out, I think now y'all understand more of where some of the names on our board match some of the names that y'all are seeing now, and I think that, but I couldn't talk about it, right? I didn't want to talk about it till this thing took place, and there's still a lot that I wanted to tell y'all in this video, but then we didn't get the exact answers we wanted yet because, of course, the cowards didn't show up, right? So we got to wait a little longer. But just say, I'll never forget about this case. I always told you, I'll never leave this case alone until Jay gets justice. Because I have always felt that this case, along with 4 others, are 100% need justice. And we will continue to fight for those cases. Sebastian Rogers being one of them. Summer Wells being another one. I still think Stephanie Darwin met foul play within that home. I'm just saying, these are some cases that we will never give up on. Even if we don't talk about them for a few months, doesn't mean y'all knew how invested we were in this case and how much money we had spent trying to get information. I wasn't going to walk away from it. I just wasn't. I couldn't do that. Every time I would try to think about, okay, let's let it relax a couple of days, right? And then I would think about his mom's, the heartbreak of his mom. And then, now we know, like I said before, a lot of y'all didn't believe me that his clothes and shorts were found there. Thank God we know that now. That came from Warren, his father, in the test, in his statement in this thing here. So we know now that the shorts wasn't the blue jeans like Eric's buddy on his payroll said that he's seen the boy with the Coca-Cola and the blue jeans, right? We know Jay wasn't in blue jeans. We knew that based on photos from right before that night started. We knew that he was in shorts. And none of the other ones, Lucy, none of them ever said shorts. But see, we didn't really know what this man had told anybody because they sealed it all. See what I get about being tight-lipped? People didn't realize how tight-lipped they were being in this case. But now y'all see when I kept telling y'all, man, they're being very tight-lipped. Y'all just don't get it. And a lot of people were trying to say, no, they were being tight-lipped, guys. But for this reason. Don't think those detectives and investigators didn't feel that Jay Slater met foul play, because they did. They just needed to build their case. And sometimes when something happens, not in your jurisdiction, right? It didn't happen where Jay lived. So you have to consider 6 extra months for investigation with it being that far away. That's how I look at it. I don't know if that's the same they do, but that's how I looked at it. And I knew it would take 6 extra months. You got to remember, it took a month to find him. So that's a lost month right there. So you take that with 6, that's 7 months. Then you add time for grand jury proceedings and whatever their proceedings over there to get to this, to make sure that this was going to file and work, takes another couple of months. So if you look at that, all the time it adds up, which means they never missed a lick on this. They never missed a lick on this case. They continued to work on it when all y'all thought they weren't. And I told y'all they were. I knew they were. And I knew when they started tracking that phone in December, what did I tell y'all in the video? They're digging. And they're trying to match the witnesses' statements is what they were doing. Were they trying to match? They were trying to match. Evidently, there's 4 people, like I always said in this, that have been working with the police. And y'all know one of them very well, because one of them that's working with the police, I've told y'all in the beginning, was there with him. The one that a lot of people picked on. But I think he did it for immunity reasons. And that'll all come out, right? Maybe I shouldn't say that yet, but that'll all come out. Just wait and see. When this goes to trial, which I believe it will, I firmly believe that it's going to go to trial. I mean, now there's a shot in the dark that somebody might pay somebody off. I don't know how it works over there. Somebody throws enough money on the table, They might drop it, but I just don't think so. I don't think these investigators are going to allow it to get dropped. I really don't. I think they're chomping right now, waiting to see what they're going to decide. But I think the detectives already know and feel in their heart that they're going to get to take this case to trial. So I do feel that it's different than what most people think. I've always felt that way, and I've always told y'all that. And a lot of y'all, we love all y'all guys. Y'all know that. And y'all were so supportive of us always. A lot of us emailing, trading back and forth. And I'm just happy, really wanted to do this just to say God is good. And I think we're fine. I think we're finally going to have answers, but most important of all is Jay's mother and father and Warren and brother are going to get a little bit of a deep breath, right? It's not going to bring him back. It won't bring him back. But I'm just so happy that this mother did not quit. She did not give up. She kept fighting behind closed doors, and that's totally amazing. That's what mothers should do. Because this was a young adult, not a child. You know, he was a young adult. So she stood up and fought behind closed doors in the secrecy and just kept rolling. What a good mother. A lot of people have dogged her, and that's fine. Dog her all you want. She's never given up on her son. And that to me shows, I don't care what her past is or what her life has been like. I care about what she's done in this, and that she has fought since her feet touched the ground over there, even to today. She's fought with everything she's got. And she hasn't had a chance to mourn, because she doesn't have the answers yet. She's doing this because she wants answers for Jay, not for herself. But any parent should do that. Anyway, guys, y'all have a good one. We'll talk later another time. I don't want to get saying too much. I just wanted to drop a little one for Jay Slater and say your prayers, guys. I think y'all are going to get ready. Y'all are in for a crazy show, I think. We'll see. We'll talk soon, maybe in a week or so. All right, guys. We love y'all, guys. Remember, trigger warnings times 100 million. You know, y'all's comments, y'all's and y'all's alone. We do our research together because we are a big, hard, little family. Trigger warnings, trigger warnings, trigger warnings. Don't forget it. These are just my thoughts, my theories, my speculation, my free speech. I'm entitled to it. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, and I love to be able to say that on this video. I'll say it again then. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. All right, guys. I can't wait for that day. Prayers for Jay Slater and his family. My condolences again. I pray for justice for you and justice for Jay. We'll talk soon, guys. We love y'all. Remember, these are just my alleged opinions. Educational purposes. How about that? All right, guys. Bye.